Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's episode of The Rope of Hope. I am your host, Kimberly Plesia, back with you again. I hope everybody's having an amazing Sunday. If you are watching from here in the Springs, I hope you got to go and see the balloons. I know that's what I did this morning. So, definitely hope everybody is being able to relax and kind of just enjoy some downtime. Tonight I have Toby with me. She's going to be sharing her story. Before we get into that, though, if you would like to support this broadcast, please consider going to to buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. By being a supporter, you are helping to spread the message of hope and inspire others nationwide. And right now, the first 20 people to buy me a coffee are going to get entered into a drawing to win free coffee on me. It's $5 for one cup of coffee, y'all. You can't even get that at Starbucks. So buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. So again, I did mention earlier, Toby is with me tonight. Toby, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly.
Of course. So before we go into your story, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I live in San Diego, California, which is paradise, and I am a body liberation coach. I have a really beautiful, smart Belgian Malinois dog who goes with me everywhere, and I like to walk on the beach and do yoga. I'm just kidding. I do like to do those things, but no need for a dating profile here. Anything else you want to know about me, Kimberly?
Well, I'd love to know where you got this infectious laugh and just, the general sweetness about you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I guess I came into this life with it, but my sweetness, I guess, is the um, belief that I have about life and about the world. And it's actually a lot of trauma healing that I've done to get me to this place where I really see, life as just this beautiful opportunity and experience. And I live in so much gratitude for every breath I take, for the life I get to live, for the people in my life, for everything really. And I think that that's where my demeanor comes from. It's just I have so much gratitude for this life and for my
I,
journey.
I absolutely love that because that's not something that you really see or hear people comment on a lot. So
Mm,
I love that you acknowledge that and that that's how you choose to move forward.
yeah.
So let's go ahead. I'm kind of going to let you take the reins at this point and let you share your story.
Okay. Well, when I was 9 years old, I was put on my first diet, and as you can probably imagine, that was a very life-changing experience for me. And I really didn't understand what was happening, but I went to the doctor, and just for a normal checkup, I got on the scale. The doctor told me I was fat and I needed to lose weight. Um, and literally everything changed. And I don't think that my parents were very equipped at that time in the 80s to really explain to me in a loving way what was happening. It was just all of a sudden dinners were different. I had to have different food than everybody else. School was different. I wasn't allowed to participate in birthday parties and the like. And so it really changed a lot of things. And I would just cry at the dinner table because I didn't understand what was going on. And I just thought I was in trouble and I was bad and I was wrong, but I didn't know what I had done. So eventually, me being upset at the dinner table led my family to kind of separate, and we started eating buffet style, and everybody would take their food and go to a different TV in the house. So fast forward till I was about 12 years old, when I discovered bulimia, which I thought was the holy grail because I could eat whatever I wanted and not hold on to it, and it wouldn't affect my body. So I thought, and that continued until I was about 35 years old. So it wreaked havoc on my body. It's a very violent version of an eating disorder. And along with that, I did a lot of exercise. And what I learned later in life was exercise bulimia. I was working out twice a day. I would do half marathons, triathlons. I did a half Ironman, and I lived a really stressed out lifestyle. I was a corporate event planner. So in my day job, I was so busy. I was so stressed out. In every year they release like the top 10 most stressful jobs. An event planner is usually up there in the top 5 under
Mm.
like brain surgeon or something like that, or first responders. So you can imagine, working this like really hectic lifestyle and then also binging and purging behind the scenes, living part of my life in hiding was extremely stressful on my nervous system, and my brain and my body.
Yeah,
And
you did kind of touch on it. I know there are a lot of people that get very confused between anorexia and bulimia.
Good
Can
question.
you explain the difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So really they're just two sides of the same coin. It's a dysfunctional relationship with food and with the self, with the body. And anorexia is where you don't eat, or you eat very little and you become very thin and bony and malnourished. And bulimia is binging and purging. So it's stuffing yourself with food and then throwing up. And they're both violent. It's they're violent to the self, to the mind, to the body, to the inner child. Um, does that answer your question?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
And it's, when I got into recovery, I went to Overeaters Anonymous when I hit a bottom in 2013. And um, I found a therapist who totally had struggled with bulimia and really understood me. And she had encouraged me to go to OA. And I always had this image of OA that, oh, I'm not morbidly obese. I had this identity of being an athlete, this identity that somehow I thought blocked other people from seeing my fat. Like I was always doing races and people would stop me on the street. Oh, what race are you doing this month? And I literally had constructed this identity that somehow like shielded me and protected me from myself because I was in denial for so long. I had started personal growth work in 2004. Fast forward 2013, I didn't even know I had a problem until I hit a total bottom. It was like smacked me in the face. And so, I thought that people who went into OA, it was just like, people who couldn't stop eating and eating and eating and eating. And I was like, that's not me. I'm an overachiever. I'm an athlete, which is BS. And I've learned that anorexia, bulimia, compulsive overeating, they're all sides of the same problem. It's just that if I didn't throw up, I would be 400 pounds,
And can you
so
explain what OA is for anybody who doesn't know?
yes, OA is Overeaters Anonymous. It is a 12-step program based on AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. So there's a lot of A programs. There's Narcotics Anonymous, there's
Mhm.
Debtors Anonymous, Gambling Anonymous. So, but they're all based on the 12-step principle that was started back in the late 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
And it's a way to heal addiction. Yeah. And it's very much based in God and spirituality. And when I came into OA, I was, somebody would say the word God and I would flinch. I was like, I'm spiritual. I don't know what that means, but I'm just, this whole God thing doesn't really resonate with me. But I was in such a dark place that when I went into OA, I walked in, I read the 12 steps. God was in every single one of those 12 steps. And I said, well, if I'm going to heal, if my life is going to change, I better just get on board with this whole God thing. And I made a decision right then and there. And my whole life started changing. Yeah.
So now I know you said that you hit a rock bottom. May
Mm-hmm.
I ask what that rock bottom was?
Yeah. My therapist called me a low bottom addict, which if you can probably get a picture of what that means. I see like an alcoholic who's like laying under a bridge, like in the mud, maybe with a needle in his arm. And that was my version of bulimia, where it had gotten so bad that I was slowly killing myself. I was binging and purging like 5 to 10 times a day. I lived in Chicago at the time, which if anybody knows anything about Chicago winters, they're lots of snow and very cold. And I was living in a high rise. And I remember a couple nights doing this where I would very late at night, and there's a lot of 24-hour everything in Chicago, 24-hour grocery stores. So I would leave and walk to the grocery store because I couldn't lose my parking spot because there was too much snow. So I'd trudge through the snow to go buy all my binge foods, putting everything on the belt, looking around me, embarrassed about what I have on my belt, wondering if other people are judging me. Go home, eat it all, throw it all up, and I would go back to the store and do it all over again. And there were some nights, there was a cupcake vending machine downtown Chicago. And I would have the same pattern with that cupcake vending machine. It'd be 2 a.m. I'd be at the machine spending $20 on high-end expensive cupcakes, take them home and eat them all and, throw up. And then, some nights I would wake up, or in the morning, I would wake up with like crumbs on my chest and, half a bottle of wine on the table. And it was just awful. I would be binging and purging late into the night. And then I'd have to get up and go to work the next morning. It was just, that was a rock bottom where I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, I was losing my voice. I was totally living in hiding. And I remember a period where I worked at this event planning company I was talking about. It was a small company, and we'd all be in the conference room having our, Monday morning meeting. And I would excuse myself to go to the bathroom so I could throw up while I knew everybody was in the boardroom. And it was just that piece of it, living in hiding, was really detrimental because I was kind of looking over my shoulder all the time and was afraid of anybody really seeing who I was and what was going on with me. And it was just a really dark place of my life. Even when I speak about it now, it feels like it was a million lifetimes ago, or like it wasn't even my life, because I feel so removed and detached from that place, that dark place where I was, which is such a gift. So that's why I do what I do now, because so many people struggle with this for their entire lives and they never find healing. They never find a way to shift. And I know it's possible because I was, as I said, a low bottom addict. And I struggled with this since I was really 9 years old on my first diet. This hating myself when I look in the mirror and being obsessed about food and laying in bed and like, oh, there's cookies, I have to get out of bed to go eat. Like, I couldn't have foods in my house because my mind would go brownies, ice cream, cookies. Like, if it was in my house, my brain could not stop fixating on it. That's an addictive mindset. I was run by the food. My whole life revolved around food and exercise. And then came everything else. But that was my priority. I would plan my groceries. I would plan my binges. I would plan my exercise. And then came other things. But it's just not a way to live.
So when did you decide that, you'd started the healing, you'd started the therapy, you'd started, OA. When did body liberation coaching come into this?
Good question. Well, I was in OA for about 4.5 years and I was still struggling. I mean, I had found a lot of healing, a lot of relief. I had a lot of self-awareness and I had the food under control. Was not eating any sugar or any flour. And I did that for 5 years. And still when I would look in the mirror, I would go down these dark spirals and hate myself and not know how to get out. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I'm doing everything they're telling me to do in OA, and it's just not working for me. And that's when I met what I call my guardian angel in human form, who introduced me to a plant medicine from South America called ayahuasca. And it's a tea that you drink that is done in a spiritual context with a shaman, that produces psychedelic effects that takes you deeply into yourself, that can have a lot of healing abilities, and it connects you to spirit, to source. And the very first weekend that I sat with that medicine, I had a full release. I call it an exorcism of my eating disorder. It was something deep, dark, released from me. And I was never the same again, thankfully. And what was replaced, that darkness was replaced with this. I felt like I was showered in this golden light of unconditional love. And I've had never experienced something so beautiful and pure and magnificent before. And the next day, I looked in the mirror and I saw a different person looking back at me. Literally, my face looked different. I was like, oh my God, is that me? I'm beautiful. And I'd never allowed myself to see myself as pretty or beautiful before, because there was so much self-hatred running the show, running the rhetoric in my head. And I think it was probably the next day after that when I said, okay, I have to figure out how to bring this to other people, because I always knew there was something deeper that I was supposed to do, something bigger that I was supposed to do in the world, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I, came to begin, that was really the beginning of my true healing and my true spiritual path, my deeper spiritual path. And then from that point on, I had a lot of integration to do, and like, oh, okay, well, if I don't have this eating disorder now, who am I? How do I eat? How do I think? How do I walk in the world? So there was years of that, like the who am I now, and really stepping into that. And I was guided. I was guided to this path. So the first thing that happened was I was guided to Reiki, and a couple of friends of mine had been telling me for a long time that I was a healer, and I was like, "What is that? What does that even mean?" But at that point, when I had like fully released this thing within me, I was literally being guided by spirit to step onto this path and keep walking this path. And so I was guided to learn Reiki, and then everything started changing because I started opening up my intuitive gifts. I started seeing things differently. I started being able to work with people, with people's energy and my own energy. And that was really opening things up for me. And then I learned breath work. And then I did that for a while, alongside my corporate job. And I felt like there was something missing, and that there was something more. And I had always had a coach, a therapist, a sponsor. Like I had always, since 2004, had people that I talked to that were helping me, that were guiding me. And I said, I think that that's what I want to do. And so I learned neurolinguistic programming and hypnotherapy and how the unconscious mind works. And then I started putting this all together with energy, and was learning that path. And then that's how my coaching program was born. And that's how I was like, okay, I know what I want to focus on. I have all these tools and all these skills now. And now I feel very like my toolbox is full, and I'm ready to step out and help other people with the same problem. Although it was a different path that I had for myself, I was like, how I can't bring all these people to this plant medicine and expect them to have this, amazing experience that I have. I needed different, like more, I don't, formulaic is not the right word, because it's not exactly a formula, but I needed more concise steps, tools that I could use for myself.
Now, as someone who has dealt with drug addiction myself, I spent 8 years as a drug addict. I know, regardless of how much clean time I have, every once in a while, I get that little thought or that little craving, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Or, I'll have that moment where it's like, I have to hold myself accountable. Does that ever happen with you?
Anymore, it really doesn't. I think at the beginning, when I was still afraid of like, what is this? Am I going to binge again? Yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't drinking alcohol at the time, which I've actually integrated back in, because I'm like, I think that I can do this. And that was a big thing for me. Like I had that experience years ago, and it took me, like I didn't start eating flour or sugar for another year after I had that ayahuasca experience, because I was afraid of opening Pandora's box. And it was another 3 years before I even touched alcohol, because I was just afraid of like, what if? I'm not willing to go backwards. I'm not willing to go back down that dark hole. And I didn't want to put the cravings in front of me, because I didn't know what would happen. But so I very gently and slowly started dipping my toe in the water, and like, oh, okay, this is okay. I've done a lot of healing work on myself. I continue to do healing work on myself. and I can handle this. And then so I think that was the difference, is like bringing in the tools. And I knew that I had a lot of tools, so that if I did have a craving or something like that, that I know what that is. There's an emotion inside of me that needs to be paid attention to, or there's a yearning within me, that a hole, I call that my God hole, that's, wants a deeper, more fulfilling connection. And it can present as like a food craving or an alcohol craving or something like that. Does that make sense?
Oh no, it makes perfect sense because I've gone through that. Where pain pills were my thing,
Mm-hmm.
and after I got clean, like I wouldn't take aspirin without freaking out, and I got to
Yep.
a point where I developed nerve damage in my leg. They
Mm.
prescribed pain meds, and I was like, that's a slippery slope.
Yep.
But I have found ways, I can identify what is, true pain and what is something else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I'm to a point like I'm supposed to take one pill a day. A 1 month supply lasts me 3 months because I've found other ways of handling it,
Mm-hmm.
of taking care of that. So, no, that makes total sense.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
someone who's dealt with addiction, I get
Right.
it.
Because when you were in that addictive pattern, your life was totally different. You didn't, eh, you were in the lack, you were in the gap. We didn't have the tools that we then developed. And that's what's the
Mm-hmm.
healing process, is that you're building a new, solid, stronger foundation where, that's the important piece, because then relapse isn't, not that it's not possible. I guess it's always, there's always a possibility in there somewhere, but like I don't even really feel that way, because I feel so much stronger and more whole and complete than I ever did before, because I'm actually working on the root cause of what was going on that was causing me the addictive patterns in the first place.
It's not a daily fear.
No.
Now, if somebody is struggling with that relationship with food, with that internal struggle there, and they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
They could go to my website, tghealingworks.com would probably be a good place to start, and then getting on a call with me, because there's a lot of different, depending on who the person is, there's a lot of different avenues to go. Some people, a course is better for them. Some people, a one-on-one experience is better for them. Some breath work or group coaching. And I've done a lot of different modalities. I've learned a lot of different modalities. And so I offer a lot of modalities. And I really like to talk to people one-on-one to see what is going on with them and what is the best thing for their particular healing, and where are they at? Because some people are like, okay, I just want to put my toe in the water, and
Mm-hmm.
some people are like I was at a total rock bottom, and then willing to do anything or whatever it takes, like, oh my God, please help me, and that's a totally different place than like, I just want to see what's out there, right? And everybody's at a different place in their journey. So I have offerings for people at all levels of their journey.
Well, folks, I did put that right there on the bottom. I'm backwards. So that is the website to get a hold of Tobey. If you have questions, if you kind of want to talk through some processes and see, if there's a way that she can help you with a struggle that you're dealing with.
Mm.
Toby, I do want to thank you so much for coming on and being willing to be vulnerable and share that part of your story. I do have one final question for you, and I ask this of every guest that comes on this show. What is the most inspiring thing that's ever been said to you?
You are loved. There is only love. That is
I,
my mantra. You are loved. There is only love.
I love that. And I actually just put that on the bottom of the screen as well. And with your permission, I would love to make that into a slide to put on the Facebook page.
Oh, that would be lovely. Thank you. Yeah.
I will definitely do that. Well, Toby, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story. It has been such a joy getting to know you through the conversations that we've had. I would definitely love to continue the relationship that we've built.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kimberly. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you.
Of course. You guys, I will be back next week with another episode of The Rope of Hope. I hope you have an amazing night, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Bye, everyone.